So now the fun part, the part that we've all been waiting for, which is like, let's bring this story to life and start to give it emotion and feeling and visual flow that will bring your viewer to this place. If you've done some selects or some organizing, you should have a lot of fun footage to play with. And if you've spent time downloading tons of music, you will have a lot to play with here. Again, the preparation pays off. So I'm in the editor. I have my shame draft here. It's basically a bunch of VO, on-cam, and interviews. I'm going to head over to my downloads here, and I'm going to grab all of these things from before. And I'm going to bring them into sound, and I'm going to start to go through them. This is all the music from MusicBed. I'm going to start to feel out the difference that this music brings to the edit. So let's go over to one section. Let's get one section here.
Homes and
here's one section that's just...
It spans 180 kilometers from east to west.
This is him talking about the buffer zone.
Further to the east of the island are the flat farmlands of the buffer zone.
Okay, so let's put some music down and see what happens. Okay, I'll just throw a random bit of music. I'm not timing it up perfectly. I'm just throwing a bit down. Here it goes.
West. Further to the east of the island are the flat farmlands of the buffer zone.
Sounds kind of nice.
Where we see a lot of farming activity.
So one thing you see in the buffer zone is a bunch of farmland, like people's...
Okay, that's got a nice vibe. I'm going to deactivate that. Command-Shift-E for me. You can also just right-click and go to Enable. And because I want to play with something else. What about this? Little big. You can see these are really big here. Like that's going to compete with my voice. So I'm going to go to this quieter section. Mysterious, eerie. Okay, that could be nice. I'll take this. I'll bring her down. I'm really focused on this section.
So one thing you see in the buffer zone is a bunch of farmland, like people's homes and land that they had to...
I should be showing this. I'm going to be showing this soon. Immediately I'm thinking, okay, I have music. I need to be showing people's homes, farmland. I'm saying all these things. I should be seeing it, but we'll talk about that in a second.
In 1974, unsurprisingly, this was a giant loss for a lot of families, and so
this is nice.
Actually allows them to come back in to their old land and cultivate it. If you look into the buffer zone,
and I'm thinking, ooh, there should be a pause there. That's a shame. This is a great time to do that. I can press A and grab all this stuff and give a pause, and watch what happens to the music. I'm going to use my pen tool to draw 4 of these guys and bring this up like that.
Old land and cultivate it.
B-roll, B-roll, B-roll. Show, don't tell. This is my moment. I have music. This music works. Now for the moment we've all been waiting for. Good visual stories rely on visuals. This is actually where I get to put my money where my mouth is. I've done everything right. I have my selects waiting for me to use. I'm going to bring them up here. And I'm going to go find the section of my selects where I cut in farmland. I'm going to make it full screen so I can really look to see, did I cut in farmland? UN, inside the buffer zone. Farmer, boom. This is where I want to be. This is all the stuff of inside the buffer zone, farmland. So let's start. I have it up here. I have all this footage, gorgeous footage. It's the best stuff I have. I want to bring that down into this section. Here we go. Let's see if I can construct a visual flow now that I have music with my B-roll, because I don't want my voice to be the thing that people rely on. I want the visuals I captured to be the thing people rely on. Ready?
One thing you see in the buffer zone is a bunch of farmland.
One thing you see in the buffer zone is a bunch of farmland. Boom, that's where I see it. What's a good clip for that? I'm going to come up here and start looking. So I'm in the buffer zone, farmland, boom, farmland. Okay. I don't need that audio, so I'm going to press this so that I'm not grabbing the audio. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to bring it down. And I'm going to say farmland. As soon as I say the word farmland, it clicks to that. And then I'm going to take this guy and pop it up here so I know I've used it. Okay, farmland. Ooh, UN. It says UN right there. That's actually a better piece of visual evidence. So I'm going to cut. Yeah, that's what I want. Command K is what I use to cut. So that's a nice clip. So let's see how that goes. I just put it on top in case I want to use that other one, but I really think That one's gonna be better.
Is a bunch of farmland, like people's homes and
People's homes. Okay. Well, I said farmland. We saw farmland. I'm pressing down now to just jump from clip. Oh, people's homes. People's homes. Okay. Bringing that down. So let's see how that flows.
buffer zone is a bunch of farmland, like people's homes.
Oh, I'm going to bring this all back because I wanted to say people's homes right when I say it. Farmland.
Like people's homes and land.
People's homes, people's land. What else do I have? People's land. There we go. Cut. Bring this down. Okay, so I'm creating a sequence now with all my best visuals. Let's watch it.
Farmland, like people's homes and land that they had to leave in 1974. Unsurprisingly, this was a giant loss for a lot of families, and so the UN.
The UN. Let's see, the UN. Here we go. Throw this down.
The UN actually allows them to come back in.
Oh, here's this guy. Boom. Farmer talking to UN guy. Perfect. And Johnny's right there. Great piece of visual evidence. I'm going to throw that in. Okay, ready? To come back in and cultivate their land.
So the UN actually allows them to come back in to their old land and cultivate it.
Okay, now we should get some shots. Now I want there to be a little moment. I like moments of breathing room. So I'm going to find this guy cultivating his land. Okay. There we go. That's a cool shot. There we go. That's a great shot of like the guy cultivating his land. So I'm going to bring that down. We basically get to the point where we are building what I call a visual flow. A visual flow is when the things that are being said are mirroring the things that we are seeing. And it just renders so much amazing understanding. I could be doing this all day long, and I do it all day long, and eventually this starts to stack up and just be tons and tons and tons of B-roll from all this stuff. And then down here, there's tons and tons and tons of music from all this music. You know, like, that's a great song. Throw that, like, for the next thing. So, like,
in addition to all of these farms, there's also minefields. This was where people lived and was just a part of
minefields. I should be showing the minefields. You get the point. I am going to layer on music for emotion and for tone, and then I'm going to start to layer on visual evidence on top. And your story, if you have a good backbone from your shame draft, starts to come together. And it starts to feel like a real thing. And there's no better feeling than watching it and being like, oh, what is being said is being shown. I'm actually watching a story. Adding emotion is what gives you the superpower, the B-roll and the music to really guide the viewer through the experience. That is an important thing. I hope this has been really helpful to show you how the edit can start to come together and eventually become a full story.
So look, I already spoke extensively about my processes and whatnot at the beginning of this chapter, so I don't have a ton to add here, but I will say that despite the fact that my approach is a lot more fluid and adaptable, and that's something that I intentionally do, I like figuring things out as I go along, there is a sort of discipline that's required, you know, a kind of commitment to not quitting until you're where you want to be, you know, or as close as you can get. You know, nothing's perfect. Any artist will say they could continue tinkering forever, right? But I try to stick with things for as long as possible without abandoning. Within reason, of course. I think you can start to get lost in the details. But I like sticking with things because I find that if you stick with things for a little bit longer, if you're willing to go a few more versions into things, they can make an enormous difference and take something that's good to something that's great. It's a feeling, okay? I want to feel proud and excited to share what I'm creating. And until I'm at that point, I'm not done. I don't want it to be like, oh, okay, cool, you know, but I don't want to show it to people. And there's no shortcut to that. There's no cutting corners for that. And I can tell you that there are videos that I've released in the past. We reviewed some of my early videos where I didn't have that instinct, that muscle built up just yet. And I released videos that weren't done yet. It was part of the journey to get to here now, but those are not the kind of things that I would do anymore. I recognize that this is particularly hard in the early stages when things are especially unclear. You know, when it's hard and you maybe don't have the muscle built up yet. Trust the process, stick with it, find every possible way you can to remind yourself to have fun with this, and little by little, it will get easier and things will get better and the results will be more sophisticated. And it's amazing to see this evolution.